Sure. My name is Moimusa Amadou, and my business is Guts Pilates and Sports Medicine here in Washington, D.C. I'm a sole proprietor, but I really function as an independent contractor
Okay.
out to other, whether they be physical therapy outfits. For me, because my services are Pilates and sports medicine, I might do an AAU basketball game. I might contract out to other high schools. I might, it just all depends on what the need is out there. I get to diversify it a little bit.
Nice. So in sports medicine, is that the same as like an athletic therapist here in Canada, or is there a different designation?
Probably in Canada, maybe you call them physiotherapists. I know in Europe they call them physiotherapists. Our distinction is that our sort of uh, deal is return to play. So we work
Okay.
specifically with athletic teams, sports teams,
Yes.
do all of the injury prevention, assessment and evaluation, and immediate care, and then treatment and rehab for any and all athletic injuries that you sustain while playing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yes. Yeah. So that would be, and my brother is did some physiotherapy assisting. He's in fitness as well. I think he's still in the chat.
Okay.
So he can confirm this for me. But I think that would be like an athletic therapist here in Canada, because there's a
Okay.
physiotherapist, but then there's like our guy here, Mike Dabrowski, is our athletic therapist, and it really is like getting him off the bench and back into the game
Exactly.
type
Exactly.
work, right?
So it's very, yeah. So it is the same as what PTs do. Our specialty though is, we're on site, so we're first
On site.
responders as well, right?
Okay.
You sustain a concussion in a football game, the trainer comes out, assesses you, you get, suspected ACL sprain. How do we get you off the field? How do we get you in the training room? What special tests do we need to do to figure out if there's joint laxity? How do we get you at home? How do we liaise with the parents? What do we
Yes.
tell the orthopedic? It's all sort of this, what do we need to do to get you from what's happened to you to
Yes.
all the way back in the field.
Right. Wow.
And
So
so
then,
and so
yes.
what makes it amazing to be able to incorporate my Pilates training in that
Yes.
is I have this whole other, kind of like holistic view of return to play. There may or may not mesh with necessarily um, what we do specifically, because again, in most dynamic, the athlete is really eager to get back out there and play
Yes.
for whatever
Motivation's
reason.
high.
And yeah. And so oftentimes we're not even necessarily cheerleading. We're like, wait a minute, you may not be ready yet. That
I
joint
don't
may
even know.
not be
Yes.
strong enough to go. So the decision
Yes.
might, what kind of prophylactic do we need, to render it stable enough so you can play. So there's a lot of
Interesting.
stuff that kind of, yeah, there are a lot of, well, it's fascinating, right? Because maybe it's a
Yeah.
parent that wants that kid back. Maybe it's a scholarship. Maybe there's scouts out there looking. Maybe
Yes.
there are internal and external forces that drive return to play and
Right.
injuries and injuries. So you just have to be mindful of what's going on and with the idea that it is patient, right? Ultimately, it's patient best care and harm.
Yes.
Can you
Right.
harm that area further? Will there be no further harm? And, if it's in the field of play, it's can you protect yourself?
Right. Right. So,
So
but now what you said
those are
there
the
is
key elements
interesting.
you're looking.
Yeah, and but what you're saying there is interesting too, from the perspective of a fitness professional, motivation and people on the spectrum of motivation being in your space, right? Now, and I've said it before, like I've had people who I call like my court ordered people, like their doctor said, you're 47, you're gonna die at 49 if you don't start exercising, so they show up, right? So they're like their motivation is low, it's external, it's a threat. That's why they're there. And then there's people who are really motivated because they want to be, they want to beat their friend in a sport, or they want to be good at their weekend events, or they're an elite athlete. That's different motivation altogether. But what you just brought up too is something I never really thought about, is someone who is um, like, we have to bridle them in. We have to pull them back because because they need to get out there, and they're not even taking their own care into concern, because it's like, okay, well, there's a scholarship waiting for me. There's a scout waiting for me. Like, we're in the playoffs. You see Chris Paul with his shoulder. If this was
Sure,
mid-season, he'd be off for weeks. But because it's
sure.
playoffs, he's like, I'm fine. Like, you're not fine, but they're that motivated. That continuum of people's motivation is something that really fascinates me in working with our clients. Um, and then begs me
Sure.
to ask you,
Yeah.
like, can we motivate people? Like, how do we motivate people? Is that even a thing, or are we just coming alongside people in it, right? So I don't know. I just like looking at different things and like what makes people tick.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, Martin. I mean, for me, from the get-go, it was about return to play. I got injured training for the Ironman. That's how I got I was moved from California to Boulder, Colorado to train full time to race
Okay.
triathlons professionally. And then I
Oh
got
wow. Okay.
injured. I got tight overtraining, and then I got injured. And a really good friend of mine, Dietrich Lawrence, is a world class swimmer, was like, stop moping on the couch. I'm never gonna. And he invited me to go be his guinea pig as a new teacher training program was starting in Colorado.
Okay.
The Alper sisters, Amy and Rachel, were starting this program. And I just
Wow. So it's
happened
like
to
back in
jump
the
in.
day.
When I was young, I'm not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
And the thing was for me was go 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 go. I need to. And for the first time, I'm doing Pilates, I had to kind of sit back and go, this go 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 kind of mentality and approach is really what keeps you chronically. So while I had specifically knee injury
Yes.
going on, it was the approach to the way in which I was conditioning myself, and that was
Yes.
keeping tight. And so I had to really, really slow down and figure out why I was getting these sort of repetitive stress, apparently strong, but getting these repetitive stress injuries. And it was in that slowing down process and really getting into
Interesting.
the work that
Yeah.
allowed me to open up my perspective and go, oh, long after I'm done racing, I am going to have a life with this spine and with this core. And so what made it attractive was I could do this lifelong. If I pay attention
Yes.
to what's going on with me now at 25, I might could shoot a jumper at 75. And so
Right.
my whole sort of perspective grew. And then what's really interesting about all of those black and white photographs with Joe Pilates and Return to Life and all is that he shot those in his, if I'm not
50s, right?
mistaken, like 50s, right? He was
Right. Right.
so at with somebody looking, anyone really, man or woman, when you look at his sort of attention to detail, athletic prowess, how he was
Yes.
moving, what the end product looks like at the end of those at the end of his deepest expression in whatever he's doing, the rollover, the hundreds. Um, I mean, you're like, yeah. I was going, yeah. At 50, at
Right.
50, it was, because we're visual, right? I was like, at 50
Right.
something, that's what I want to be doing. And it no longer
Yes.
was, I want to be a pro. And so you're always
Interesting.
mindful that um, it's long term, right? This is a
Right.
long term, lifelong. The real
Yes.
sell is long term and lifelong.
True. So, but real talk, how long did it take
And here I
you?
am, right? Like, so,
Right. Yeah. But how long did it take you, like, from that, like, to recognize that this is only going to work if I slow down?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like when you're doing
Um,
sessions, was it like the first session you figured out, or after a week of feeling like I don't feel anything in this Pilates work, and they're like, well, it's because you're trying to muscle through it, like you're training for Ironman right now. Like
right.
when did that
Uh,
click? When did that make sense for you? So based off of Meryl's comment there about athletes coming to Pilates, and Marianne also Blaze Pilates, a perfect example from a martial arts background. I was saying how it's interesting how that influences how we present Pilates. Like not necessarily from and for you it might be different too because you have an athletic therapist or a physiotherapist background as well. So you can navigate the corrective exercise piece as well as you can navigate the athletic piece, the performance piece, the corrective exercise and the performance piece.
yeah, can you come again with that question, Martin? It was
Sure.
breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, I was saying that you have a unique perspective in that, Meryl's comment was that athletes come to Pilates and then that informs how they present their Pilates, right? Because you have this athletic understanding
Hmm.
of the work. You have a unique perspective as a physiotherapist or as an athletic therapist where now you can have a real vocabulary around the corrective exercise, but then as an athlete, you also have a vocabulary around the performance side of Pilates.
Yeah, I mean it's a perspective and it's a take. Um, the what's interesting is that again it's all about why am I doing this? What's the reason? What's the sort of
Yes.
sell, if you will, for an athlete? Because the athletic community, it's a little bit of a different sell, right?
Yes.
And with guys, with men and boys, it's still a little bit of a different sell.
Mm-hmm.
If for instance I'm working with a guy, and let's just say my son or my daughter
Yeah.
even,
How old are they?
I have to maybe even my son's 15 and my daughter's
Okay.
12.
Yeah.
I play a free association thing with them the other day. What what three words remind you of Pilates? What I do, what the industry is, and they say, well, to do Pilates, I have to be rich, I have to be white, and I have to be a woman. I'm like, if those are the three words that associate you with Pilates, and I've been doing it for 30
Yeah.
years, I might not be doing my job
Right.
so hot. So what I'll do yeah, I'm like, I'll take that
Yeah,
off for
I'll own that.
myself. But what I
Yes.
do is, I love that. Clearly, I need to do a better job spreading the
Yes.
message. Um, but what I do is I'll slide in leg circles, I'll slide in rollover, I'll slide in shoulder bridge to whatever work he's doing in football right now.
Yes.
I'll throw in any one of mat
Yes.
exercises, not tell him it's Pilates, but like, okay, go and do this for 2 months and I'll see you at
Yeah.
the
Right.
I'll see you at the beginning of the summer or
Right.
something. And so they're able to, right? So I'm at a boys school and I work in strength and conditioning as well with the strength and conditioning coach, and it's really interesting what athletes grab on to pieces of the mat work, right, that
Mm-hmm.
I can introduce. I think the most fascinating group so far are the wrestlers because
Yes.
they're needing to be in so many different positions and use agility and use quickness and be in extreme rotation and be in extreme flexion
Under
and
load,
extreme
right? Like, yeah.
so extension,
Yeah.
so they get what it means to be in all of these different positions and to be strong and yet flexible and have incredible range of motion
Yes.
in all of those positions. So working with them and watching them practice and watching their walkthroughs and watching them prepare for their event is it soaks the
Yes.
mind. It's just a learning thing for me. And then I go, oh, here's where I would slide in this,
Yes.
or here's where I would slide in
Right, right,
that.
right. Now, and I feel like that with basketball too, right? Because basketball has so much more contact than people appreciate. That, you know, making a move to the net or playing defense, having to be so reactionary that you'd think that there'd be more uptake with Pilates with basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just even boxing out, or, you know, what you're doing with your arms, or being bigger, or having all of, you know, so it's all movement is movement,
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
and I believe that, you know, for me, this movement is really about, you know, physical fitness. Everyone should be able to do it. But there's nothing you do in your specific dynamic, from a golf swing to playing defense in basketball to playing lacrosse, which is more rotational. If you figure out the science of what that, and even positionally, right?
Yes,
If you
positionally.
figure out
Yeah.
are what you are having to do, based on your sport, there is probably something Pilates related that is going to assist you in in doing that properly and effectively.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And that's, I mean, it's for us too, as instructors, we kind of have to experiment with it too, right? Because like you said, certain athletes, it makes sense to them in different ways. So we have to play with it and experiment and not be afraid to be wrong in our exploration of movement as we're presenting to them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's what we can't forget, right? It's so somatic that probably what I've seen is we start teaching a little bit more, maybe developing. That the first thing that goes is our is our own
Yes.
practice,
Yeah. Right.
right? Start making a little bit more money, start getting some more clients, start wanting to get more clients. All of a sudden, we're pulled outside of, okay, what's my, even if I've got 15 or 20-minute routine, what do I do for
Yes.
self-care? What do I do for self-practice? And you brought up something very interesting too, is, and I love your t-shirt. I want to know where to get
Yes.
one. Who's your Joe?
Yes.
Um, and it made me reflect and think too, is, you know, for years and years and years, there is not any one person that I necessarily see to go get work myself. And it's so crucial. It's so important to
Right.
us that as we teach, as we build our businesses, we can't forget about self, can't forget about practice, and we can't forget about the edict. It's in the book. Um, you know, 4 times a week, at least 10 to 20 minutes a day.
Yes.
And that's something that we as practitioners need to remember as well.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I love this. Like, who is your Joseph? Because it's like we can't sit back. We know so much. We feel like after a certain point, you know, we're busy. We give away our prime times. We have no time left for our own workouts at the end of the day. We just figure we'll do it tomorrow. There's something to be said for accountability, if nothing else, right? Like back in the day when I was working as a personal trainer and doing all these consultations, the line that they gave us, I don't know where I heard it, but they said everybody needs motivation, education, or accountability, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes you need one of the
yeah,
three, sometimes you need two of the three, sometimes you need all three of them. Sometimes you need one and three, sometimes you need one and two, sometimes you need two and three, whatever it is. Education, motivation. So you need
yeah,
those three at some point. So I think that we can never get away from that. Even if we think we know all of this, for me to reach out to Noam, who just started, I said like, hey, let's do a workout together. I'm gonna learn something. There's some accountability, and I may pick something up new out of it. So we can never get away from that, regardless of how accomplished we are, or how busy we are, or whatever our excuse is. You know, so
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. And it, you know, again, if a lot of your work, so a lot of my work is hands on, and a lot of, I think I mean, that's my style of teaching, is very sort of hands-on and palpating, and it's also very kind of I demonstrate more than I probably talk. And so in order for me to come in and not come into an exercise cold or whatever, I've got to kind of make sure that I'm presenting the movement in as ideal a fashion as I would like to, as I want you to receive it.
So don't
right?
do like
And so,
lame demonstrations, is what you're saying.
try not to. Try to. I mean, you get this stuff from these so I got the method from Ramana, and again the Alper sisters up in Colorado in '92, and kind of that whole New York classical train way of thinking, and it was very sort of performance oriented. You teach what you know, and you knew what you knew from having seen it done correctly, and then going and practicing it on your own for hours and hours and hours. And so by the time, and so the workshops were they weren't competitive, but the workshops were very sort of, you needed to have come through having worked on it and having really meditated on it and worked through some stuff in your own body. Or you're just going to be a little short. So there is an ideal in your own kind of mind as to, and then there is the body obviously in front of you, and it's important to just kind of teach what you know or present the work as it's been presented to you to honor how it was presented to you.
Yes, and that's, it's good that you say that, because I mean, like, a lot of times our culture, and not to knock this cancel culture, so to speak, but there's something to be said for that. And I have to say that I'm okay with that, like with the sense of working at it and polishing it up and getting deep with it and understanding it within your body and all those things. The danger is when we start to judge other people and then we impose that in an unhealthy way. So I'm not talking about that side of it. So I hear what you're, so I hear what you're saying there. I hear it in terms of just being able to demonstrate it and execute an exercise and give something for people to aspire to, and then layer that in with understanding the body in front of you and what that looks like for them, which might not look it may look different than it does for you, but still aspiring to the highest level that body can achieve. So we get comfortable, and it bothers me when we get comfortable with, okay, that's just good enough, and let's stop there for today. Like, no, let's still chase after what your body's capable of chasing after. That's my own soapbox with that. So
it's a fine line.
Yeah,
it's a fine line, right? It's a fine line, and the more you know your clients, the more you know your athletes, the more you're able to kind of ring the orange at points, squeeze it at points in the session, and then let some exercise.
Yep. Oh, we lost your audio again. No audio. Okay, so he's coming back again.
Can you hear me now? Okay, great. I love that, what you just said about chasing after it like it's a part-time job. You're a hustle, it's significant, because a lot of this that's the mental conditioning part, right? The mental conditioning part is, even though physically it may not look a certain way, which is a whole other trip, but mentally and emotionally, you can try to get what you need to out of the
Yes.
movement without it. No two Pilates bodies are going to look the same or similar when they start
Yes.
moving. And so you're just trying to get the best out of what you can do in that given
Absolutely.
moment.
And that being said, there'll be
And I'm sorry for all of
yeah.
the
No, no, no. It's a,
connection difficulties. Because like
no, we'll edit it all out and it'll look polished by the time it's all done. It'll be like
okay, it
everything will
feels
be
like we're
perfect.
grinding through it.
No, man, absolutely. I had a gentleman from Ireland, I believe it was, and it was like we're talking to someone
Okay.
on the moon. Like the delay was so long, but he was in the military, so he'd understood like that kind of delay in conversation, and we timed it out perfectly thanks to him. So um, it happens. It's all good.
Okay. Okay. It's all
Yes.
part of it. Good.
Exploration versus knowing. Yes. Yeah. And and another part to that too is recognizing that because everyone's so different, there will be some exercises that are basic exercises that I'm never going to be able to perfect, and then there may be an exercise that's some gold star exercise that I can do just because of my anatomy, right? So everyone is different, so we can't just have it all boxed in this exactly the way, like to your point, that it looks just a certain way, because everyone has different things that they're capable of too. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, because my world, not for the most part, I have my regular Pilates world of be they recreational athletes or someone who wants to get in a wedding dress by August
Right.
or whatever reason they're coming to Pilates for. There's the other slice that is performance
Yes.
related. So if you're an offensive lineman or you're whatever, it's what to give you that is going to encourage you to be able to do your task
Yes.
and invite you to a different kind of perception
Of that
of
is
what Pilates
yes.
is and can give you. So I have to remind my, hey, look, Cristiano Ronaldo does this for
Right.
soccer. There are other athletes of stature that that are relying on this,
Good word.
dancers that are relying on this as their
Yes.
livelihood. So there's all the way from the rehab spectrum to recreationally to this is a wonderful
Mm-hmm.
pastime to
Yes.
recovery to I need this to
Yes.
perform. This is what I incorporate in order to perform at my
Mm-hmm.
highest level. So when you go across the spectrum of why people are into it and then become like the bug that you've been bitten by.
Yes.
It's just nice. It's wonderful to see and to be a part of.
Absolutely. I love the word rely. Like I wrote that down, and I'll send to you after. There's a clip that I have of LeBron James where he's doing an interview. I'll wait for it to stop cycling here. Did you catch any what I just said there, or was it lagging? Lagging. All right, we're back.
Yeah, I think it's the lag. Maybe one more
Okay.
time.
I think we're good now. Can you hear me all right? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
now I can.
Um, we've gone 54 minutes and we've still kind of navigated this. It's all good. Um, So yeah, so I was gonna say like the word rely is interesting because like I have this clip that I have on my Real Men Do Pilates page where LeBron James is in an interview and they're saying you were told to rest. What do you do? And he says, oh, even when I'm in my off season, I'll do like the Versa climber. He goes, I do Pilates. Like they tell me to stop, and I still do Pilates when I'm supposed to be resting. So there's a difference between doing it because you like it, it's your pastime, and when you rely on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like that's that I love that line about like how do we cultivate it in a way that people rely on it? How do we, like dude,
Absolutely.
that's
And this is like the gospel
yes.
of it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's get into that. Nice. One last question for you.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, and that's the piece that makes it really lifelong.
Mm-mm.
Is that I
Yep, there.
it didn't come out. Can you say it
Oh, I
again?
no, I didn't even ask it. Man, it's been a fight today. Like,
We're just
we're just
duking
duking it
it
out, man. We're
out.
just staying.
Duking
I
it
watched
out.
that Tyson thing last night, so like I think I'm inspired to just stay in the pocket and win. Um,
So what's the
so the
question?
question was just like collecting all these thoughts and your experience in the Pilates world over the last 30 years. Now with the PMA and being on the board of directors there, what inspired you to put your name in the hat for that?
Yeah, it really is just, I think you get a certain stage in your career where you really want to give back and you think you're going to be
Yeah.
useful. Yeah, whether it's in, improving the standards, whether it's in conversations about research and science, whether it's in conversations about entrepreneurship, whether it's in conversations about the education piece, whether it's in conversations about diversity, equity, inclusion, whether it's about whatever those conversations are in terms of how we are growing. And it's 20 years with the PMA, but if Joe started this in the 20s, we're really looking at an organization that is post-adolescent, 20 years old, that is responsible for a craft that is, almost 100 years old.
Yes.
So I just kind of feel like for me, given perspective, I can add my voice and hopefully positively steer the ship for other professionals or folks who want to see it as a career or a profession, get into it and then navigate how best to use it. Me personally, Pilates informed my decision making in terms of a
Yes.
career path since I was in my 20s, early 20s,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
lost. And so you can imagine how many, African American men, how many men, it doesn't even matter. Latino, diverse women of color. How do we kind of get this wonderful, diverse blanket that's the state, that's reflective of what's in the States and
Mm-hmm.
really globally now, because we're a global
Mm-hmm.
organization, to get in on everything we've
Yes.
been doing,
Right.
right? And that's like a flower blooming
Yes.
kind of thing. And so I just believe, given my perspective and my relationship with Pilates and the method and what it's brought to me, that it's a way of giving back and then staying really involved with the direction of
Nice.
growth, right? So I get to meet with you on this platform for an hour. I get to, call little friends. I get to sort of jump right back in the middle of what this is
Good stuff.
really all about. And again, like me, like I said, it's if you know how to take care of your people and sort of your world and your clients and your athletes, then what an honor it would be to have your colleagues you know, entrust you and taking care of them and their businesses and
Yes.
their livelihoods and their families and working out that
Yes.
balance. So I think it's the right time for me. I've got the time, I've got the energy to do it, and certainly I think the
Mhm.
experience. So, you know, I hope it happens. You
I
know, I'm
hope so
looking
too.
forward to it and lending a voice. Yeah, I'm hoping it happens. And just thanks for, I mean, it's just such an honor for you to have me on and talk about the craft and talk about, you know, where we've been and
Yes.
where we are now,
Right.
where we want
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah. I like the fact that we spend a lot of time today on where we are.
Yeah. Yeah, and keeping
Keeping
it
it
in the
present.
present, right? And and I just like that, you know, it is there are people in their professions or in their jobs because they have to be. I tell people all the time, I don't have to teach Pilates. You know, I get to
Yes.
teach Pilates, and it's an honor, and I would like to do it. I don't see myself really retiring from it. I love the craft. I you know I love the job, but then I also over a certain amount of time, um, you teach in a way that is going to balance other things in your life too, and learning that over a period of time is really
Yeah,
important as well.
exactly. That's good, man. Well, we made it somehow. Man, we'll,
we we
we'll
did,
definitely do
yeah.
this again.
Well, it's you know how you have some of those sessions that you grind through, right? In the end, somebody busts out a
Yeah.
teaser, and like, yeah, you did it, you
Yep.
did it. That's it, and that's just
Yes.
exactly it. So I feel like I was like you were helping me through a
Yes,
process teaser.
exactly. Like this was, and you finished on such a strong note. We could forget about how shady the whole cutouts with the internet and stuff were earlier. So we're good. We finished strong, man. That's how we do. We finish strong here. All right.
Exactly,
All right. Thank
exactly.
you. Yeah,
We'll
we'll keep
keep
it
the
going.
conversation
And thank
going.
you to
Thanks.
all the people in the comment section. Thank you for everyone who joined us today. Thanks for your patience with our audio and digital challenges, but we got it, man. So, all right, I'll message you after. Really appreciate all you're doing, man, and we'll talk soon. All right, take care.
Thank you.